Thank you for joining us for Monday Motions, where we take an emotional word and we define that word and we describe what that word looks like in daily living and we make a decision to find a solution. Either we're going to reduce that emotion because it's a negative emotion, or we're going to increase it because it's a positive, helpful, give it life sustaining, life giving emotion that we want to increase. Today's emotional word is denial. How many of us have found ourselves in denial? Webster Dictionary defines denial as a refusal to satisfy a request or desire, the denial of privileges, or it's the refusal to admit the truth or reality of something. So we're going to use the word denial today from the perspective of being refused to admit the truth or reality of something. Is there something in your life that you are refusing to admit the truth or the reality of? Is there something that is pulling away from your life, pulling away from your resources? Is there something that's hindering you from doing and living peacefully, living successfully, and doing the thing that you've always wanted to do, whether it is to grow with someone, or whether it's to have a family, or whether it's to get a certain job, move to a certain location? Whatever it is that's been in your heart, is there something that's pulling you away from doing it? Is there a change that you need to make that you're refusing to look at because of the fear that if you look at that thing, if you admit that change needs to happen, that it's going to be difficult, it might cost you something, and therefore that fear, that uncertainty of how it's going to end, whether if you make a decision about it, will it end well or will it end badly, is causing you to feel stuck. The thing about denial is that even though it's helping you in the quick moment, because if you don't look at it, deny that it's there, then you don't have to handle it. It's taking so much away from you in terms of emotional energy, strength, and also living a life where you have integrity with yourself, where what you do and what you say matches. And so denial comes at a high price. It's just that in the meantime, it seems to be a coping mechanism that a lot of people use to not have to deal with something that requires change. So, what are the things that we deny in our life? What are the ways that we use this mechanism of denial, right, to not take care of ourselves, and it allows for more emotional damage to take place? Say, for example, you have a spouse or a child, or maybe it's you yourself that's dealing with an addiction. That denial that that problem exists, that that problem is costing you your relationship, it's costing you money, it's costing you time, it's costing you health, will keep you from getting the thing that you want the most, which is health, healthy relationships, healthy finances, healthy body. It is keeping you from getting those things that you need, and it's keeping you from working on the problem, the thing that was missing that brought you to the addiction, that allowed the addiction to grow in the first place. So, whether it's denying an addiction, or for some people, it's denying an affair that they know is taking place. Because if they admit the affair, that means they have to make a decision about the relationship. That means they have to decide where that relationship is going to go from that point. What are they going to do to change it if they want to keep the relationship? How do they heal from it? What led to that affair? So there are so many questions that have to be answered, some behaviors that have to change, some decisions that have to be made, that as long as you're in denial, you are preventing, holding back, procrastinating from doing something that may be necessary. And not just maybe necessary, but it's vital for the continued health of your relationship and also your own emotional health. So we find ourselves in daily living applying denial to deny things that require us to do work. That's when you deny a truth because it's painful. You deny a truth because you have to do something about it. You deny a truth because now you are part of that very issue. As long as it was not admitted to, it wasn't recognized, it wasn't looked at, then you could say, well, this is not happening, this is not my fault, this is their choice, not my choice, I didn't have anything to do with this. But once you admit that there is a problem, this is something that needs to be worked on, it needs attention, now you have ownership. Now you have to make a decision. This is why we use the word, we do the action of denying something exists that we need to respond to. Sometimes it's a very hard truth that we know that once we accept it, it's going to take some time for us to process what that means. It's going to take some time to process the truth of a negative situation. It's going to take time to process something that you thought was healthy and good that turns out to be a lie, that turns out to be destructive and negative. Something that was done that may have not even been your fault, but you might be held accountable for it also. These are hard things. If it was easy, right, then we wouldn't use the action of the denial. But it's something that we use to give us space, to give us time, and sometimes to give permission to the behavior that we don't want to quit, to give us permission to spend a little bit longer before we have to make a decision to do what's right and what's healthy and what's good for our life and for the life of those who we're in relationship with. So if that's what denial looks like in daily living, what's the decision that we have to make? It's a decision that we need to reduce and eliminate denial from our lives. Why do we want to do that? Because to live in the truth allows you to live with integrity, it allows you to own what's yours, and allows you to make a different decision so you can get a different result. That's why we want to eliminate eventually, but we definitely want to work on reducing if we're not ready to eliminate, using denial as a tool in your life. So you're asking yourself now, how do I do that? You have to first accept the thing that you're trying to deny, you have to accept. Accept the situation for what it is, accept the situation for the truth. You don't have to accept that this is what you're stuck with. You don't have to accept helplessness. You don't have to accept hopelessness, but you have to accept the facts of the situation so that you can make a decision to work on changing it. After you accept, then you have to believe that you have the power to change it. You have the power to do something about this situation that makes it better for you and for the other people involved, that comes together and brings a good solution. So if you're saying, well, what if the situation involves someone, that's something that they did, I'm accepting it, but they're the ones who are in control of changing their behavior to change the situation. Yes, you can't change another person, but you can certainly change how you respond to that person. You can certainly make a decision about what boundaries you're going to put in place. So if that person decides not to change, you've accepted. For example, if you have a loved one that has an addiction, and now you've decided to accept the fact that that loved one has an addiction, and to accept the reality of how much that addiction has cost the family and other people around you and has cost you. Now, you may not be able to change that person in terms of them deciding to get help for their addiction, them deciding to get into a recovery program and get support. But you can, now that you've accepted the reality of the addiction, now you can put some boundaries in place that protect you from being abused or taken advantage of as a result of their addiction. You can help them to access resources so they can decide, and you can be part of the solution if they're willing to take, right, the solution that you're offering, if they're willing to take the support and the help. If they're not willing to change and they're of age where they can make that decision fully on their own, then you have the right to now make decisions to put the proper boundaries in place, to love them, but to put the proper boundaries in place so that loving them does not equal them being allowed to abuse, hurt, misuse you as a result of them struggling with an addiction. So the truth of it allows you more opportunities to make better decisions, to look at your choices and to look at what's needed, and then to make a healthier decision related to that. That is the benefit of not being in denial. It allows you to accept, to evaluate, and then to make some decisions and put some change in place in your life. So this has been the emotional word for the day, denial. What do we want to do? We want to eliminate denial from our life so we can live a life of truth, of integrity, but also a life where we have the power to make changes that are healthy. Until next Monday, we'll see you again. Thank you for listening.